All right. Day one of Dubai Fitness Championship 2024 is done. It is 6 o'clock in the evening here. I'm in Dubai. Nico's in Dubai. Patrick's in Germany, getting ready to head to the UK for Fit Fest. Later, you're leaving later tonight, correct, Patrick?
Yeah, 10 o'clock German time. I get in. I should get there about 11:30, and I was gonna be like, "Hey, Kyle, Rolf, have a beer ready for me or some whiskey." And Kyle's competing. He's doing the rowing championship, so
Yeah,
he's
he
got.
was telling me about that at Rogue. He's like,
Yeah,
get ready. I got
so
a competition coming up.
I know. So I have to see if it's Saturday or Sunday because I'm gonna need someone to hang out with on Saturday night. I guess I could hang out with Marius or Jason or our buddy Matt Davis from Hybrid Fitness Media.
Nice.
Yeah.
Anyways,
But
we decided to schedule this show a couple hours ago, and we just it was a pretty fun day here. Nico and I and the rest of the team got a chance to go to two different offsite events, similarly to what we had last year. There was a bus that came early, picked up the athletes and the crew, took us to a location, did an event, went to a different spot in Dubai, did an event, and came back. And then we've had the afternoon to recover, refresh, and get ready for another full day of competition that will be tomorrow. We do have one more offsite event, and we'll talk about that later on. Excuse me. But the first thing we're going to do is kind of just go over what happened today. And Patrick's got some clips up here that are playing from a Dubai SC account that was posting highlighting some of the things from event one this morning. If you guys missed it, it was really, it's a popular destination for people to go. It's booked all day, every day here. We were talking to the manager of the facility. And it's just, you have to book it several months in advance. It's a Jumeirah Palm. It's a Aura Sky Pool. Maybe some of you are familiar with it. And the athletes had a chance to do a pretty gnarly test that Nika's going to kind of give us some insight on, as someone who has a lot of cycling experience, in a really picturesque location. But I'm not sure how much the athletes got to enjoy the view in the midst of the suffering.
No.
So Nico, I mean, you have a lot of experience cycling, around cycling, shooting it, doing it, competing in it. And when the FTP test got announced as an event that was going to happen here, and it was also listed as Damper 10, you immediately reached out to me, and maybe just give some perspective on one, having a test like that as part of a CrossFit competition, and then in addition, what does the Damper 10 actually do to the test?
Yeah, so the FTP test is something that's very near and dear to every cyclist's heart. However, it's kind of, there is a few things that's different when it comes to doing it at CrossFit, because we don't, FTP is a measurement, is a functional threshold power, which was originally meant to be 60 minutes. We now do it in 20 minutes, and then you multiply it by 0.9. So if you get 100, your FTP will be 90. So you have to, it's not the number they get is not their FTP number, just to stress that a little bit. Otherwise, they have to hold that number for an hour. That was the original test invented by Andy Coogan 100 years ago. I don't know. But yeah, doing it on a bike, what we're normally looking for is watts per kilo, which means, because the faster you can ride with, the less you weigh, the faster you can go up a mountain. But we don't use that in CrossFit. There's no actual bike. There's a bike erg. So how much you weigh is just in your advantage. And we definitely saw that today with some of the bigger guys pushing really, really hard. There was this curveball thrown in there with the damper having to be set to 10, which means it's a little bit more choppy. It's not as fluid of a motion, and you lose all sense of rhythm. And it's just like, who can keep pushing with and not build up that lactic acid. It does favor the bigger guys a little bit more. It would also do that in cycling. We sometimes see bigger cyclists can hold a slower cadence and push a higher gear. So that was what we saw today. Like, the bigger you are, the bigger your quads are, the more muscle you have to push. You can probably push a little bit further, but then again, your ability to clear lactic acid over 20 minutes is very, very important. And we saw that today, because once you hit that 13, 14 minute mark, you can fall off a cliff. And we definitely saw that with one of the top scores today. Supposed to be one of the top scores today, but it didn't happen.
Yeah, and the women started. They were first out of the first to take on the FTP test this morning, and we saw the best scores that were over 270 for women on the FTP test. Nico, knowing what you know about cycling and knowing what you know about CrossFit, how good are those scores for a CrossFitter in this setting?
For the women?
Mm-hmm.
For the women, they're up.
The women that were getting above 270, yeah.
Yeah, for the women, they're up there. They're up there trading blows with pro cyclists. However, that being said, I don't know the weights of the women, but I'm guessing we're looking at almost over 20 kilos more than an equal cyclist. So their watts per kilo would be significantly less. But they held their own in terms of, I'm guessing like the top riders can push 300, 320 over the course of the 20, 30 minutes. But yeah, that's definitely up there in terms of the women. The men, however, is a different story.
We'll get to the men. Here are a couple of the top women's scores, and we see, not surprisingly, 3 Norwegians in the top 4 scores, and then Karen Frey slotted in there. No one would be surprised about this, and Linda Kieschmann. And I would say, just based on the data that's on their CrossFit Games profile, that the average kilos for these women, Nico, is like 73, 74 kilos amongst the top 5, which you would say is significantly heavier than elite cyclists.
Yeah. So if we go, let's just go. Who won Oda Red? So she got what's her score? It's
287, which was 9 kilos better than Hilda and Karen.
Yeah, and if we go by, I don't know how much we estimate she weighs, 70 kilos. That would put her at a 4.1. Yeah, that would put her at a 4.1 watts per kilo, and that's almost 1 watt per kilo too little to hang with the pro riders. So she'll need about 25% more to be up there.
Jeez.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that if Vora Thurman-Moe, another one Norwegian athlete, she ends at 277, which is a great finish, 4th place. I know that she did over 300 in testing, but she started out holding 330 for 6 minutes and was not able to sustain it and really crashed hard on this. And it's around something that can happen, obviously.
Yeah, around the 13-minute mark, she was holding an average of 315. And I said on the live stream, like, if you can just don't fall off a cliff right now, then you're fine. And she
I was surprised by that. I was surprised that she fell that bad, because she should have won this event. This event was made for her.
Yeah,
she's from the north. If you don't know anything about her, Krieger did. They're doing basically like a road to or miles to Dubai. And that's a shout out to Nico there, where they have a videographer, and they're basically the whole Krieger team that qualified for Dubai. They've been kind of following them around. So if you see the most recent episode when they got into Dubai, you get a little bit of background on Bar, and she's from the north, and obviously the weather is really extreme there, so she can't run outside all the time. So what she bike ergs, and she does a lot of ski erg as well. And same with Matilda, a lot of those Norwegian girls. So anything with the machine, especially in erg, I'm not surprised that the Norwegians, especially the Krieger athletes, did so well. But I thought she was going to maintain that. If you look at her Instagram profile, she constantly does like bike ergs at 10 dampers, usually EMOMs or some type of grueling workout, or she just doesn't sit on the seat. So yeah.
I noticed Rodri is asking in the comments, do you think we should use watts per kilo as a measurement for a workout? No, I don't. And we don't do that in cycling either. It's just a measurement for training and kind of knowing once you're going to hit the mountain, you're going to know that Tadej Pogačar has this many watts per kilo, and that's going to be an issue for everyone else because they just can't follow him. And then good old Sir Isaac Newton invented his laws of physics, and they're going to do the rest. So we don't use watts per kilo for anything other than a measurement. What you weigh is good to weigh as little as possible. However, in CrossFit, there's a lot of times where it's good to weigh more than 70 kilos if you're a male, or more than 50 kilos if you're a female. So I don't think it's it's not a good measurement.
Yeah, he came over. He knows. Just said it's Captain Clark's laptop.
What's that?
Sorry about that. Nothing. Nico,
But yeah,
as we scroll down on the women's leaderboard a little bit, I mean, and look, we see some of the, the heavier women that are doing well here. Obviously, all these athletes are super fit, so they can last to 20 minutes. But you see some of the women that are maybe on the smaller side, or historically have been billed that way. Andrea Solberg, Maria Longfors, Jamie Simmons, coming in here just outside the top 10, inside the top half. And I would say that that's that's usually the type of sign that you want to see for an athlete of that build on a test like this.
So I think I don't have the numbers with me, and we don't have the numbers since we haven't measured them. But just going back to the watts per kilo, I'm pretty sure Andrea Solberg wins this workout. I'm 99% sure she has won this workout. Jamie Simmons maybe, but I think she has a few kilos on Andrea. But I think Andrea wins this workout if we go by that measurement. And that doesn't matter in CrossFit. I'm just saying the wattage she puts out is impressive.
Yeah, and mostly what I wanted to say, I mean, we do have actual data on the athletes, but we're pulling it from their games profile. So just, these are not necessarily accurate, but just to put in perspective, that Karen Frey's games profile lists her at 73, Andrea Solberg's lists her at 61. So it's a 12 kilo difference there, which is over, about 25 pounds.
Yeah.
And, so I wanted to highlight some of these athletes down in this portion of the leaderboard, because I think that those results for someone who weighs that much are kind of on par with the 12 to 15 kilo heavier women, 20 to 40 watts more.
Yeah. Should we look at the men?
No, let's stay on the women.
Forward to the men.
No, can we stay on the women?
Yes.
Because what I think we're talking about event one, right? So
yes.
Yeah, let's just move back. We can look at the totality of it, because what I really want to do is look at the bottom of the leaderboard and talk about which one. I mean, some of these, there's some big names down there, and it doesn't get any easier for them. Yeah, there's some, but we'll talk about that afterwards. But let's switch over to the men.
I do think it's nice to just to look. So the range is something that I thought was interesting. I was trying to see where a high and low might be, and there's a few athletes hovering around 210, including Elisa Fuliano, who we'll talk about later on. And then if you go all the way up to the top, at 287, so you had about an 80 watt range there on the women's side. If we go to the men's side, and they went second today, and we'll sort them here by first event. In the first heat, Nika Majzoradze put up 370, and as the guys in the back were getting word of this, they were thinking that's definitely going to win, and it ends up finishing third. Benoit Boulanger got him by 1 watt, but Mika Wazalowski, who's his birthday, by the way, today, put up 379. Nico, did you expect anyone to threaten 380 on damper 10 today?
Yeah. There's some big guys. As soon as I saw Nika ride, I could see he knows what he was doing. One of the things I was looking for was his positioning on the saddle, and he was the only one who's like way forward on the saddle. The reason you want to do that is you want your hip or your center of gravity to be aligned on top of the pedals. No one else was doing that out of all 60 athletes. He was the only one doing that to perfection. Also, he was the only one who never ever stood up in the handles. What that allows you to do is, if you relax your upper body, you're not wasting any energy, like having to circle that much oxygen into your upper body, because you want that oxygen going into your legs, because they need it way more than your triceps do. And you saw all these big guys, they're standing up in the handlebars, and that means they're flexing the triceps and the shoulders, and they're using the upper body. You shouldn't do that. You should find a comfortable position, lie down, just let the legs do the work and have the hips sit still. And Nika did that to perfection. However, I could see pretty early on that he didn't have while his technique might be perfect, he didn't have the power output that I would expect for someone his size. Yeah. But I'll give credit when credit is due. And I saw Mikael he was in the second heat or final heat?
Final heat. Yep.
Final heat.
No,
I watched him.
Second heat.
Yeah, second heat. Yeah. I watched him for about minutes and I'm like, nah, I'm not buying this. Because he was all over the place. He was shifting back and forth. His pace was up and down. I'm like, nope, you can't hold it when you're that inconsistent. Like, no way, brother. And I went to got a cup of coffee. I came back and it's like, oh, he's still holding that pace. And somehow he managed to do it. He had his hand on his thighs as he was biking, which, well, I'm not sure that should have been allowed, but whatever. It's maybe not an advantage, but it's kind of weird to see. But he pulled it through, and he found a way to win, and he did that.
On the broadcast, he looked very, very uncomfortable. Like you said,
yeah.
He looked he was shifting, he was moving. He looked like, it's kind of like when you're rowing like a 10K and you get a ride around that 1K and you start shifting your butt around, trying to find that sweet spot. And, he was doing that like right around 5 minutes. You could tell he was, I mean, credit to him. And what I wanted to bring up and ask Nico is what from the stream, you saw so many different forms and different you could tell some of these people weren't professional riders or anything like that, but you saw a lot of different techniques. And the one that I saw, and you brought it up, is like using hands. Benoit, I mean, the last 2 minutes when he was for every like 2 strokes, he was pushing down on his legs with the right arm, pushing on his left leg with the left arm. He was doing that, and he was able to get those last minute and a half. He was able to get move up like 3 watts, and usually that's so there was some advantage there from doing that, because normally it's hard to get that average wattage up in those final minute and a half, right? And he got
do what you got to do.
Yeah,
I mean, if the rules allow it, then do it. There's nothing wrong with it. Like, obviously, this wouldn't be something you would do in cycling because you'd fall over on a regular bike. But I liked it. It was for me, it was kind of a nod to Brent Fikowski. We even saw it at Rogue a few weeks ago, where he did the double strokes on the ski erg. And you know what? Come next season, everyone's going to be doing those double strokes because he did it. He won the workout, and and we saw it again today. Like, find a way to win, and hey, credits to him.
Yeah, because I didn't think he was going to catch. And just those last minute and a half, he made up like 3 watts and beat him by 1. And it was a tribute to him. I mean, that's I'm not surprised, because if you think about it, look who his training partner is, look who his coach is. It's Carolyn Lambre, it's Jeff Adler. They're usually pretty they're very, very smart about things. I mean, they do a lot of studying. There's a lot of technique work there. So I don't know if that was something they practiced or that's something he just did on the fly, but it worked out for him. But yeah, you saw it across the board. We saw many different styles, even for the women. We talked about Bar, and she looked very comfortable the first 10 minutes. She was stacked. She was stacked. It looked like she was stacked pretty well, and she was leaning up. It's like she did everything that you were saying. It was like a good bicyclist did. But then right around 12 or about 8 minutes left, she started looking uncomfortable. And then that's when she started and it was really interesting to watch. I know a lot of people. Some people said it wasn't fun to watch. I thought it was amazing. I really did.
Yeah, and I think I do want to give some perspective to it. So the winning, how much did he get? He got 80. No, almost 80. Yeah, let's round it up to 380. So the best riders in the world, Tadej Pogačar, Remco Evenepoel, and Philipp Ugana, they can all push around 500 for 20 minutes. It's right around there. But the interesting thing is when the Belgium Olympic champion Remco Evenepoel, he weighs 60 kilos. So put that into perspective. Like
Mikael's listed at about 100.
Yeah, so if you go by watts per kilo, 500, and we divide that by 60, that's 8.3. That's almost more than double of what we had the women in the women's heat, the winning time. So, and that's what we get. Like, they're not special. This is still CrossFit, fitness, call it whatever you want. I'm not gonna step on anyone's toes here. We're not specialists, and we saw that today. Even the good ones aren't specialists. Even Adrian Mundweiler isn't a specialist in biking. Janne Koski is not even a specialist in swimming. Not when it comes to the elite. So there's always another level.
Well, I have a question for both of you guys, since you're there. Okay, looking at collectively men and women, I need one athlete, it could be man or women, that you were impressed by, and one athlete, woman, you were just surprised by in a negative way, like not disappointed, but you're like, I
just
thought they would
specifically on the bike.
Yep, for event one.
I can go first on the bike, because I remember one workout where maybe it was an open workout where Dave Castro said, I expect full effort, whatever that meant. I think it was something you had to like actually do the workout, then you got to the lift. So you couldn't like coast in a workout. I don't like when people don't put in an effort. This could be Sam Dancer on the trail run and then winning the deadlift. I don't like that. That's not what we're doing. It's not good sportsmanship. If you look at the leaderboard and go all the way down to the bottom, someone posted a score of 144. Then either you're injured and shouldn't be competing, or you're sandbagging a workout, trying to game for the next workout.
Well, I will say this. I spoke to Anthony yesterday prior to this event, and I'll actually pull up so that I can get this right. But he is 23 years old. He's listed at 73 kilos. He's 170 centimeters tall, and he's a young guy from France. And he never expected to qualify for this competition. Sorry, didn't mean to click on that. And he came here to get some experience. I think he's got a big gymnastics background. He tested this, and he said he like sold his soul to get into the 270s. He knew he was going to take last place, and there was no rule saying that he had to put forth the full effort. Just like there was no rule saying that you couldn't push your legs down on the bike. Saud saw this. Saud, like you, didn't like it, but Saud said, "You know what? That's on me. I should have told them that they needed to do full effort." So,
but it's for me.
It was a calculated choice that he made, and was within the parameters of the rules they were given. It was great sportsmanship. You could say yes, whatever. But
Brian, why are you defending him? That was Nico's pick. You're trying to make him change his mind.
No, I'm not going to change my mind.
I'm informing
you basically proved him right that he was gaming the system.
Right. Yeah. Well, and then it's a decision time. Is it unsportsmanlike to tank for the first round pick? Maybe, maybe not. Some people say they do it, but at the end of the day, I don't think anyone will do it. I will always say you do your best to win, and when you play sports, you play to win. And that will always be you never play for second place. That's
the athlete that kind of disappointed you. What about the one that surprised you? Men or women?
Well, definitely Nika. I think he did everything right. He needs to build his capacity. I was on the bike event. It was absolutely perfect. Perfect execution. I think he did exactly what he could. It was really impressive. And then the Norwegian showdown on the women's side was impressive to see, but to no surprise at all that the Norwegians are good on endurance. They're not good on bikes, they're good on endurance, just to make that very clear.
Brian, how about you?
While we're still on the men's side, I'll just throw this out there that I spoke to Jacob Douglas on the way back, and I think anyone who's looking at the leaderboard is going to see the run and be like, wow, that's an amazing run. And we can talk about his running, but he told me that this was a PR on his watt test by a significant amount. And even though it's kind of low on the leaderboard, he is very good at short time domain power output. And so to have a PR in competition like this in a 20-minute fixed time domain test was a huge win for him on this particular event. I'll go back to the women's side since we spoke mostly about the men in regards to that question. I thought, where was she? Yeah, I thought this was a really nice start to the competition for Hannah Hardy. Hannah she does occasionally throw her name into the individual ring, but she does some team competing too. And so one of the few American women or Americans at all that traveled over here, and to have a top 10 finish out of the gate, I thought was pretty nice. I don't know if she has much international competition experience, so it was like a good start to the competition for her. So when I was looking back at that, I said, "Oh, that's a nice start for her." And I mean, look, she's sitting in the middle of the pack, 13th after 2 events. So it was nice to see Hannah have a strong start to the competition.
Yeah.
And a disappointment.
Disappointment. Oh, geez.
Brian's too friendly. He's not going to do that.
Well, okay, an unlikely surprise.
I think.
Well, on the bike,
it's
fairly easy to just. I forgot her name again. The other Norwegian.
I guess I'll say this one. PC out. I don't say disappointing, but maybe surprising. Did I do this right here? Yeah, just to see both Emily and Hannah. Is this right? Where were they ranked on this?
Yeah, they were towards the bottom
just
there.
Didn't have. Yeah, for women that are that I would consider to be fairly fit, very strong, and on the bigger side in terms of just height and weight, to have finishes down here. I was a little bit surprised to see that. I thought that kind of even if they weren't good in this test, that they would be maybe 5 to 10 spots higher than this. So,
yeah. Well, we won't stay on them too long because I want to circle back to them later on when we talk about the day one. But I don't know anything else. I do have a question. I noticed that they made a change between the women's and men's. They went 2 heats of women and they went 3 heats for men. Was there a reason why they made that change?
Well, like I mentioned at the beginning, that location is extremely difficult to procure, and we had it for a very fixed time domain. And Saud was preferring to do heats of 10, but we didn't have enough time to do it. So we just made the decision to do 2 heats for the women and 3 heats for the men.
Okay. Because what you saw a lot on the women's side, because they're a little bit closer, you saw a lot more women looking at each other's meters, whereas the men, you didn't see that so much because
he specifically said in the briefing, someone asked him, "I don't want you to see other people's screens." So you can hook up the Concept 2 machines, but I think it was in his mind that I want them in their own event, suffering and not knowing where they are relative to their competitors. And sometimes Saud has that mindset.
That's part of being a competitor, is looking at your fellow competitors and gauging where they're at. I mean, but I just thought that was something I noticed with that little change up. I was wondering if that was the reason why or whatnot. So, and then I think my other thing is, like, overall, what was the general consensus from athletes when they were done and they got to take in that view? I mean, that's an iconic view. I've seen that view. I mean, I've been up there. I mean, when I was there, I could see the hotel I normally stay at when I'm in Dubai, right there on the Palms. It's a loft. It's on the last leaf, all the way at the end. Has a private beach. It has a great view of the Burj. But you got Atlantis right in front of you. I mean,
that's where you usually stay.
Well, after the competition, I usually stay a couple days. Except for this past year and this year, I usually stay out there. But the loft, I'm kind of a celebrity there. A good pizza place located inside, by the way. But anyways, what was the general feel from athletes? Because that's the thing that's why you go to.
I'll say this: it was a huge range. There were people that looked miserable and were crawling out of there, and there were other people, and these were even some of the ones that had the best scores, that got off their bike, definitely were tired, but looked decent and were moving around fairly well relatively quickly. I don't know, Nico, if you saw the same thing.
Yeah, I think a lot of people love the view. There's a funny incident with Luka Jukic, who's he's super scared of heights. So he was hoping to get one of the back rows, and he got front and center. And even when we did the Burj Khalifa 2 years ago, he ran up and he never walked out to check out the view. He just stayed inside. He never went outside. So he was not having the best time until I think he was having a better time when he was on the bike, because then he was kind of focused on something else than the view. But hey, being up there, it was weird being a photographer up there, because you had like 2 feet of ground after the bike, and then there's just an infinity pool. So everyone was so scared of falling in the pool because you don't want to be that guy. And I was kind of disappointed no one fell in the pool. Obviously, you don't want anyone losing their camera.
I was waiting for Josie or Anya to fall in there. I was just waiting for one of them to fall in there.
Yeah. But
if I was there, I would have been the guy that fell in there. No joke. That probably would have been me.
But it was an amazing setting, and I think that's one of the things Dubai has that no other competition, current competition, has in that sense. Like, obviously, we had something like Swiss Alpine Battle. There's also ridiculous in terms of the setting, but Dubai has some offsite events that can kind of hold their own against all against Wodapalooza, Rogue, and the CrossFit Games. So,
and I will say, Brian, good job in keeping that a secret from me. I know I was trying to get it from you a couple times, and you refused to let me in on it. So, good job on that, and that's really cool because I've been up in that pool. It's like Brian says, usually there's a waiting list. A lot of people rent out that place for private parties, and it's expensive. The time I went up there, I had to pay 70 AED, and I didn't even get in the pool. It was just basically to go up the elevator and take a couple pictures, and it was just packed up there, and I took it back down and went to Atlantis instead. So, so bravo. Once again, Saud knocked out of the park in terms of, showing the beauty, what Dubai has to offer.
Yeah, just the beauty and diversity of Dubai. I mean, when he just come on podcasts or we'll talk about in interviews, it's people from Dubai are very proud of the things that Dubai has to offer, and he is 12 years deep. We're in this competition now, and he's still finding new ways to showcase different parts of Dubai. And that was, and again, we didn't just have one offsite event today. We had two, and we have yet another one tomorrow morning. Nico, when you first saw that they were going to be relatively quickly after a 20-minute watt test doing a 1K run time trial, were you concerned for their legs at all?
Yeah, and I haven't done. We probably need someone else to do that, but I haven't looked at, because if you were in Heat 3, you had a way less recovery time than Heat 1. And I haven't checked if anyone who won, well, Kristen Halter won, so she was in Heat 3, so that kind of disproves my point. But anyways, someone had like almost 40 minutes less recovery time than other people, and you were sitting on a bus the whole time getting ready. So not optimal, but then again, running 1,000 meters, how much recovery do you need? They're elite level athletes. I don't think it's going to affect the performance that much, more mentally than it actually will do physically. There's not that much you can do to either you're a good runner or you're not a good runner. However, when we get into seconds and 1 second, it might have made a difference, but this, other than the recovery time, it's the same for everyone, right? So it's not, you're running against the field. You're not running against your own personal times. So it's equal conditions for everyone, but maybe there's something to be said about the recovery time, and if it's half a second, but also they ran in heats of 3. That might have been the big difference maker. I'm not sure how they were made, those heats, but the problem is
just based on their qualifier.
Right, 30, but then you can be lucky. Yeah, because you want to run against someone who's slightly faster than you. You don't want a Ricky Gerard who's going to crush you and demoralize you. You want someone who's just faster than you, maybe a second slower in the end, so you can kind of push it and gain it in that sense. But maybe you're running against someone who's not that fast, and you feel like, hey, I'm winning, and it's hard to win by a lot because you don't know you're competing against 27 other people that you can't see, so you have no idea how fast you actually are going. And that's for some people is way better to do a mass start, because then all I have to do is come first. But
I had some interesting conversations with a few different athletes about this topic today, and it was actually sort of divided. There were a few athletes that said, the mass start would be nice from the perspective of then I can identify those athletes who are kind of close to me and kind of use that technique or that strategy that Nico was talking about. And these were from athletes who've competed at the games as individual and mass start events. The worst thing that I've experienced, whether it's a run or a bike, is just getting boxed in or closed out. Right. And then you're just screwed. this is what they were expressing. Whereas in this test with 3, it was very unlikely for that to happen. You could find space to run your race. On the other side of that conversation, I spoke to some athletes and coaches who were towards the back of the draw because they qualified towards the front, and they were like, is there a way for me to get the times of people who already finished and use that as an advantage? And their coaches were basically saying to them, no, you know what it feels like to run a 1K. Go and run your race.
Yeah.
I think
you can't use that using other people's times. There's no way you could do that. Like, what are you going to do? Look at your watch? I need to go faster.
I think it should have been 5. Mass start of 3, you have too much variance in there. I think with 5, I think you would have had less heats, and I just think, I don't know, maybe it's more of a chip timer thing, and gathering, just.
No, it was the width of the track. They just wanted to have it like that, and they probably could have done 5, but
it looked fine. It looked fine. It looked enough for fun. But then you had athletes that lucked out, like Holta and Aline, who just by the luck of the draw, they ended up in the same heat. And I think if Kristen was in another heat, it wouldn't have been that close. But I mean, we know Kristen's fast. She's shown that in 2019 when they had the shuttle run or the shuttle run. But here she's almost 39 years old, and Aline is 23.
Yeah,
but it's like that, iron sharpens iron, and great athletes will always perform even better when they have someone they're competing against. I mean,
and I love that.
Aline
that.
Aline, just PC, just Aline is 30, so she's not quite that young.
How old is she?
30.
Okay, well, I mean, still, it's not 38. I mean, there's
right.
She's ideally for a woman, that's like the prime age for a woman CrossFit or a fitness athlete. But and Holta is a perfect example of that. But that just shows how great of an athlete and how fit Holta is to keep up with someone who like her at 38 years old, who's not doing the volume that you probably that she was doing 2 years ago. I mean, she's got a family and kids and stuff like that. But it was great watching that, and she looked like she was having fun. I guarantee if you give her another 25 meters, she catches it, because she really cut down that gap, that last 50 meters in that run, according to looking at that broadcast. So
before we get into any more of the specific performances, I just wanted to get you guys feel of having a 1K test in an 8, 9, 10 event competition. We see it running obviously a ton in events. A lot of times it's long distance running or rounds for time, and we've rarely. I mean, we did get a mile at the games this year, but I don't know if I've ever seen an event that's just 400 meters for time. A kilometer is a little longer than that, but do you like the kind of shorter running event as a one-off event within a multiple event competition like this?
It's hard with monostructural events or single modality events in a 9-event competition, because we already had one in terms of the FTP test. We're going to have another one in terms of the lifting, and now we have 3. However, monostructural single modality events is part of CrossFit. It's part of functional fitness. So I think it's fine, and I think it's good to have something on the other end of the spectrum, because if you're good on the FTP test, most likely not going to be good on a 1,000-meter run. However, maybe it should have been even closer to a sprint, taking it all the way down to 600 meters, because it's right around 800 meters is where we in running talk about, are you a sprinter or are you a runner? So, and then we get to go to 1,500 meters. We see all the Norwegian guys, the Ingebrigtsen brothers, who's the best in the world, and if we go even further, you see all the Kenyan people running. So I would have liked to be even closer to a sprint, something that people never do. I like when they get a distance you never do. It's like rowing 600 meters in a workout. You get all confused. But yeah, I would like to have been 600 meters, because you don't know how to run it, and it's way more of a sprint and a high power output than 1,000 meters. And you're gonna see a lot of people being good at it, and the leaderboard kind of shows that, at least for the men.
I just want to say, there's a lot of criticism regarding the programming. It's like, oh my God, you're doing a lot of legs. You're going to start off with the obstacle course tomorrow, and then you're going to do more lifting, squatting. I mean, and everyone's like, oh, this isn't a test of fitness. You're right. It's not a test of fitness. This is the test that Saud and the people that program put together. They're not looking for the fitness. They're just looking at these are the tests I want to go out. I want to see who wins it. So I think we need to get past people's minds when it's like, oh, it's not a true test of fitness. It's not trying to be a true test of fitness. A definition of true test of fitness.
Well, look. Let's wait till the end of the weekend. This is the thing I would say to anyone who's complaining about it. Let's wait till the end of the weekend and see what the leaderboard looks like. Because if you go back historically and look at any Dubai Fitness Championship or CrossFit Championship event, you look at the top 5 in the leaderboard, you cannot tell me that these tests that Saud has come up with over the years are not finding the fittest people here. There's some of the best people that have ever competed. Annie Thorzar's won this 3 times. Laura Horvath won it twice. Karen Frey's won it twice. Sarah Sigmazar's won it twice. Holta, Rolf, Nigala, Briggs, Green, Webb. These are all on the podium in Dubai, and the men's field is the same. So let's let the test run its course, and then we can evaluate.
I'm not saying that we shouldn't. I'm just saying.
I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to anybody who's complaining or criticizing what they see on tape.
I think maybe sometimes Dubai can suffer a little bit from what I'd like to call historic residue, because in the early days, when shout out to my friend Frederick Egidius, who won in 2012, he did some crazy ass workouts. Like he was jumping over a box jump that was higher than himself, and he couldn't even see the person, Kenneth Leverage, who he was competing against. He couldn't see him, so he didn't know what was going on in the workout. And they did ab rollouts for time. They had a year where they did like the bamboo bar, and people will fall
in the ice rink.
So there have been sketchy workouts in Dubai. There have been, but they're learning, and they're trying to push the limits. We ran up Burj Khalifa, ran up the ski. Obviously, running down the ski was maybe not the best idea in the inside ski arena. No, but obviously Ricky won. But Roman minded. He fell. So but it wasn't unsafe. Like he fell. It's not bad. But I think they're trying to push the limits. There's a dumb workout with a ski erg and pushing a plate on the water that only one guy finished back in 2013. So there have been some workouts less ideal, but they've evolved throughout time, and I think that's a good staple of a competition. Like you live and you learn. And Wadapalooza has some big misses from time to time. Of course, the CrossFit Games the same. But if you're not willing to take in feedback and try to keep evolving, then you have a problem. But with 9 events, sure, you can have a full test. But we have 5 CrossFit, what we call CrossFit workouts. We have 1 lifting event and then 3 offsite workouts. If Matt Fraser was in his prime, he would win. Simple as that. No matter who else competed. So
anything else? Anything you guys were on site? Anything else that stuck out to you regarding the run? It's I will say it's hard to broadcast a 1K. It's hard to do that. The best way to do that is if you had someone just remotely on a golf cart, just going back and forth. But with only minute starts between each heat, it's kind of difficult. So what we did get to see is a lot of quite a few close finishes. We got to see, especially the Holta finish and Aline finish, and then Luca and Jake Douglas, big old Jake just rolled. It's like he was running downhill. He looked like freaking Saquon Barkley, taking it on top sweep. That's
so one thing. Best player in the league, MVP, best running back of all time. But no, what the run was, it was about 400 meters, and then you had a 90 degrees turn. And then what people didn't actually realize, and Spencer Panchak talked about this afterwards, it was slightly downhill, just a few degrees. So some people underestimated how fast you could actually go on the back half of this run. And if you realize that too late, then you've lost 2-3 seconds, and you're never going to make those up. So it was a slight decline at the end of the run, and I think more people should have walked the run or the actual direction. What happened was we actually, all of us, walked the run in the opposite direction. But most people didn't feel the fact that we're actually walking a little bit uphill here. Not a lot, but 1% is a lot in running.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anything else that stuck out to you, Brian, regarding the run?
No, clean run. People were happy. No one was complaining. No one was complaining.
Mm-hmm.
It was very confusing.
Think, to go back to kind of what Nico was saying on the onset, as not to say that I'm not always impressed, but I was impressed with the athletes. They recovered well from the bike, and I mean, look, some of them looked like they were in really bad condition after the bike, and those athletes still, despite a 45-minute bus ride, got off the bus, got into their routine, and were able to run a pretty good, a good 5K. And we've got the top, or 1K, excuse me. We got the top women's scores up here. And we'll flip over to the men's scores here, because I didn't think there would be a ton of scores under 3 minutes. There weren't, but these times from Luca and Mikkel, 151 and 152, under these circumstances where you don't have anyone that you're racing against, you're doing it after that 1K. Nico talked about that if you had the shorter recovery time, Luca was in the last heat of the men, and he comes out and runs this 251. Like, these two times to me were pretty impressive.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yeah, and obviously when you have these opening events, we've seen at the CrossFit Games where Yannick Koski or Adrian Moonweiler had the leaders jersey. No, Adrian didn't have it. But anyways, you're going to see it a little bit of skewed leaderboard when we had some different type of events. So, yeah, we're not expecting this to be the final say, and when all 9 events have gone. So let's do an obstacle course and then some lifting, and then have another look at the leaderboard. I'm betting it's going to look a little bit different.
Oh yeah. Well, I don't know. We'll see, because I think we'll take a look at some of this stuff, because again, the athletes, especially on the women's side, that really struggled on day 1. They're going to start out with the test on day 2. They're probably not going to do as well. They're probably going to do just as bad, if not worse. And that gives them 3 bad workouts to start off the days.
Right.
Well, I think let's do something. Let's just real quickly before we, because I want to kind of not correct but inform about that the obstacle course tomorrow. But let's just look at the standings end of day 1, just so we can see them here. On his birthday, Wesolowski first and a second, and has a nice lead here. Luka Jukic sitting in second. I mean, obviously Luka's super fit. He's one of the favorites to win, but he's also really good at monostructural stuff, so not surprised to see him towards the top. Toby Buckland is, we know Toby's been working a lot on his monostructural work. He's dropped about 9 kilos in the last 9 months. So this is the start he was looking to have. Nika Maizaradze is a runner and a beast on machines, so not surprising. Sneaky good day from Helsinghoff, because he didn't have a top 3 finish, and even if you have this 4th here, it just kind of goes unnoticed. It was exactly 3 minutes, which is kind of crazy actually, to the 100th. But we haven't mentioned him this whole time, and he's just kind of sitting there. Nice start for him. Boulanger, who we talked about, and then Jake Douglas, who he told me on the bus, he's like, hey man, I just have never really had a chance to do a short distance run, but I'm pretty good in a short distance run. And sure enough, he's the 3rd guy that breaks 3 minutes. So I think those are kind of some of the guys at the top. I think
Boulanger, who's known as a better runner, I think he paid for the FTP on the run. He's one of those. He's one of those athletes that didn't recover in time, because he's a better runner than that. To finish 19th, and we've seen that at the semifinals this past year. With the first workout with the running and thruster, or the cleans or clean and jerks. But yeah, I mean that's a guy who he sold his soul and did. I think I don't know if he'd rethink his strategy in that one, but yeah.
There's 2 guys that I wanted to just highlight that aren't up here near the top right now. Yorgos Kervis with an 11th and a 10th today, and Spencer Panchek, who's, I think this was probably a decent performance on the bike for him, but 20th, followed by a 5th, that are outside that kind of top group right now. But I think these are actually good day 1s for both of them. Obviously if Yorgos is healthy, He's got really high potential to competition here. And I would say, Spencer being here inside the top half when only 2 of the events have happened, and one of them was on that bike. So these are 2 guys I would look for to make a move tomorrow.
Yeah, Spencer obviously has a chance to podium with the events left. Also, we have to mention a guy not on the leaderboard or last on the leaderboard, Morris Febeck, obviously withdrew. He was sick and did everything he could to try and compete. So yeah, a shame for Moritz, of course, but yeah.
Your room service is there, Nico.
I didn't order anything.
So with
Moritz,
he got food poisoning when he arrived, and he'd been trying to fight it, drinking a lot of liquids, trying to get as much rest as possible. And he said in his post that it took everything in for him not to throw up on his bike. And it's probably a good thing because he was in the front row. And if he would have thrown up, it would have went in the infinity pool. And, that might have ruined the day for the rest of everyone that's coming to the event later. And as you can see, this is a picture of him in the hospital getting IVs again. So, obviously, for me personally, like I said, I love Moritz is one of my guys. I picked him to win this competition. So
well, make a new pick.
Shit happens. So
yeah, make a new pick. Morris not gonna win.
Yeah.
Who should pick now?
If we just
I'll make a pick. I haven't made a pick. I can make a pick.
You're gonna make my pick?
I think without an issue, Luca's going to win on the men's side. He seems very fit. It looks good. He's bigger than I've seen him before. That probably will translate well into being stronger. Obviously, he's fast. We saw that on the run. Obstacle course is kind of a joker, but let's see what's going to happen there. And I like the rest of the events for him. I don't see anything that kind of should stop him in his tracks. He might not be the strongest guy out there, but he's not outside the top 10 on a lifting event. And and on the women's side, until proven otherwise, Karen Freyova would be my favorite.
Well, we differ in that. You and Brian can agree on that, and you can also agree on Luca. But by a process of elimination, Luca was my second, who I picked second. So he moves up to first, and you know what that means, Brian?
Tell me.
That means Nika moves up to second, and guess who moves into third?
Remind me.
Boulanger.
And that's just Boulanger. Oh yeah, that's right.
I had him fourth, so that's my podium right now by default. So I've kind of taken a different route, but I did tell people to watch out for Victor. So Victor, like you said, a really good day one overall. Nothing really surprising, I think, on the men. Like I said, you go down there after Spencer. You have Artemis, who I know you're really high on. He's at 15th. He's by no means he's not out of it, but these weren't his events. And then you have someone like Braun in 17th and Tola in 19th. But again, these are guys who are going to do some damage in some of the workouts ahead. But look who's in 18th.
Mm-hmm.
The guy that everyone's picking last, who kind of got that last minute invite. Good on him. Will he stay there? I don't know, but I think anything. I think he definitely didn't secure last place.
Yeah. So who do you have on the women's side?
Let's look over to the women real quick. Let's look at the women just as they stand on day one. I would say if you told me that there was a day of competition that had a biking test and a running test and that there were a bunch of Norwegian women in the field, you would expect them to do well. They have 3 in the top 5, and I think they're all in the top 12. Yeah. Var and Andrea are down here in 11th and 12th. But if we go back to Belgrade games, because Matilda Garnis is here in the lead, she's just has nothing but top 3 finishes still in these events. And so even though these are events that look good on paper for her, she's just continuing to perform very well. And look, Karen is lurking right back here, and she's definitely still the favorite, but probably Matilda's the biggest threat to her in this field, and she got off to about as good of a start as you could.
I'm gonna probably do some research after this. I think this year, I know Matilda went team this year. I'm gonna look to see if she had a finish even as a team outside the top 10. You know, obviously individual wise, she's been doing. I mean, at Belgrade she had all top 3s, right, or top 2s, right? Yeah, she's either first or second.
Yeah, and at Oslo Throwdown, her and Henrik were just unbelievable from the start. I mean, she's looked incredible this offseason.
Yeah, and then she did a competition prior to that too. I believe it was an IF3 qualifier competition that she won pretty handily. So I mean, she's had an amazing offseason. And a lot of people look at IF3, and she did a local Norwegian thing on team, but. You know, and then Belgrade, like, whatever. But she just looks great. This is the best.
Oh yeah,
I've Matilda. I mean, it's and we've seen this potential from Matilda before. I mean, if it wasn't for her bad luck in the 2021 season where she got in a car wreck and being sick, but she's making up for it. This is a very fit Matilda, who didn't have a very good 2023 season. Wanted to step away, and she looks like she's focused more than ever. And I don't see her, like I said, she's going to do well in the obstacle race. You saw her; she looks much stronger. You saw her with the clean and jerk at Belgrade. So the heavy complex shouldn't be too big of an issue. She should be one of the top athletes in that as well. And then going down, I mean, she's one of the best pullers in CrossFit. This is basically tailor-made for her. And I know you guys picked Karen Frey. I picked Matilda Garnes to win, and I'm still sticking with that, and it's looking good for me so far.
Well, but Nico, I know you want to say something, but Patrick, if you want to pick Matilda to win, you have to call her Matilda Oyen Garnes. It's a shout out to her mom.
Well, you made that promise, not me.
Okay, then I'll do it.
Okay.
Nico, did you want to add something in there?
No. I mean, I agree with what Patrick just said. However, Karen's going to win the lifting event, and then they're all tied. Like so, when you are the defending champion, until I've seen something to prove me wrong, you will always be my favorite to win. Obviously, there's the last year's CrossFit Games. It's a different story, but like next year at Rogue, until I've seen otherwise, Jeffrey Adler is my favorite to win.
Mm-hmm.
And 2 events, monostructural events, will not be enough for me to change my mind. If Matilda is sitting on top of the leaderboard come midday tomorrow, okay, let's talk again.
We're going to get to tomorrow really quick. I just wanted to also point out another country on the women's side that had a really nice day. Aline Wirtz, obviously getting the credit for winning the event. And when you win an event, you get a lot of notoriety there. She is sitting in 3rd place overall. And also Nicole here with very consistent 7th and 8th place finish. So it was a nice start on the women's side for the ladies from Switzerland. And then we talked about it. Jamie's just kind of lurking here. This is a perfectly good start to the competition for her. Same for Andrea Solberg. Brittany Weiss down in 13th, an athlete that people were excited to see. I think she's probably not going to be. I think she would have expected herself to do better on the run here, but I'm guessing she's pretty happy with the bike score. So let's see how she does tomorrow. Patrick, anyone else? I know you wanted to talk about some of the women down at the bottom before we move into day 2.
I was really impressed by Sylvia Garcia, especially in the run event. I didn't know she was that fast, and she was in a heat with Brittany Weiss, and Brittany was one of those favorites, I think, coming into this, and she beat Brittany.
They were actually the two. They were actually the 2 that I had picked to potentially win the event, and in part because they were in the same heat.
Yeah.
And what I thought, or what Aline and Kristen did, is what I thought may have happened for them. They just weren't quite as fast.
Yeah, and what Brittany ended up is she ended up being in a log jam with like 4 other athletes who finished within like 20 tenths, 25th or hundredths of a second amongst each other. There's like kind of a log jam there between 3:16 and 3:15. There after that separation with Garcia, but I just think, something to note is like 6 of the top 12 athletes are Krieger athletes. So Krieger came there, and just the thing is, Krieger came to play, and we haven't even gotten to the CrossFit events yet, and that's what Krieger's known for. So for 6 of those athletes to be in the top 12 after the first day,
they're also known for monostructural event wins at the CrossFit Games.
Exactly.
Going
So,
team,
but
they are.
I know you still got the heavy complex, but then after that, what do you have? You have a lot of CrossFit after that. Or you have one event that might. Yeah, I don't think that one event's going to hurt those Krieger athletes as much as everyone thinks it's going to. Especially someone like Matilda. I think Matilda's going to be fine, and yeah. So, but yeah.
Similarly, I want to look at down here at the bottom a little bit, because Patrick, you mentioned a while ago that we have some big names on the women's side that are in the bottom 10 right here. Elena Karatala sitting 21st. Annika's tied for 21st. Annika actually PR'd both of the tests today. I thought it was a huge win for her. And I would actually think that being in 20th here, kind of, 2/3 of the way up the field, considering the 2 tests, if I'm Annika Greer, I'm going into tomorrow feeling great. I had 2 PRs. I'm beating 1/3 of the field, and all my best stuff is still ahead of me.
Well, I hope so. I hope so that she feels great. I hope she feels good physically, because she's got an obstacle race coming up, a 5K, and that's kind of the point I wanted to say is like these women struggled with a lot of monostructural, legs today.
Okay. I have to cut you off because you said this 3 times already. Let's talk about the obstacle course, because I actually have had a chance to learn a lot about the obstacle course today. I think there's a way to, let me pull up the website here and see if we can show some of it. But in general, the obstacle course is 5K of distance that they have to travel. Mm-hmm. And in a certain circumstance, the runners can definitely excel here. But there are some nuances of this obstacle course that are going to come into play. See if I can navigate this website. I don't know.
Yeah, I've seen the obstacles, and some of them, there's some interesting obstacles in them, and
So I want to, but for anyone who doesn't know or haven't heard, the format for this is, as of now, it's the exact same format that the actual Dubai World Obstacle Challenge that's happening this weekend is using. And that means that each athlete is going to have 3 bracelets or lives on their wrist. And if they're throughout the course, there's a variety of obstacles, and any obstacles that are considered hanging implements. So I'll show you, we can see some, these are not hanging implements. If they're considered hanging implements, they get one attempt at the hanging implement. And if they fail it, then they get a life cut off of their wrist, and they'll document, they take a picture, they write it down, whatever. If you lose all 3, you're out. Your race ends, and you only get credit for the obstacles, which each one would count as a rep that you've completed up to that point. So and the hanging implements, from the people who I know who've gone to the site and done it, there are at least 3, and depending on who you are, up to 5 hanging implement events that are difficult. And some people who I think are pretty well knowledgeable about the totality of the field here have said that they will be surprised if more than half of the women are able to finish the event. So there's an element of this obstacle course that is not just who's the best 5K runner. And there's going to be, it's an element, I think Nico called it a joker. It's a kind of a wild card event. It's where there, like we saw with Ricky last year, that if you're not calculated in your approach, or you make kind of a silly mistake, that you can negate being a really good runner in this particular obstacle course.
Yeah. What is do we know what the winning times would be for this event, for elite obstacle racers?
That's a great question. It's something that I intend to find out, but it's something I don't know yet.
Yeah. Because if we're looking at 40 minutes or something, how much is the run even going to matter? I don't think anyone really, they're going to run at a moderate pace.
Well, it'll matter because your heart rate, it's all about controlling your heart rate, just like anything else. Now, there are going to be some athletes who are going to try to make up time on the run because that's what it is. That's what Hunter McIntyre is really good at doing when he was doing Spartan racing. He was one of the better runners. Same with Ryan Clark. They were the better runners. So they would make up time on the run between the obstacles, because once you get to the obstacles, a lot of these athletes, especially obstacle race athletes outside of McIntyre, they're all relatively the same in terms of strength and ability. Hunter McIntyre, the reason why he was so good is because he was stronger than all of them and also the better runner. So there is, I mean, and I'm not disagreeing saying like, hey, but a 5K is still a 5K, and there still is some running in there, and there is some distance between them, and it is going to pay some difference. But like you said, a lot of the hanging movements, the 3 bands, and getting that's going to be a huge factor. And I think the final event is you shooting a freaking laser pistol. So
so let's here you guys can see sort of the layout. It's kind of this snake format. So they're working with it's on sand, but it's hard packed sand, not soft sand.
Yeah.
And the laser pistol at the end. So this is another little nuance of this event. The laser pistol that Patrick's talking about is the 30th obstacle. If you finish the 29th obstacle and still have bracelets left, then depending on the number of bracelets or lives that you have remaining, you'll have to do penalty laps. If you have all 3 of yours remaining, you go to the pistol. If you have 2 left, you have to do 1 penalty lap. If you have 1 left, you do 2 penalty laps. Obviously, if you have none left, you've already been eliminated. Mm-hmm. When you get to the pistol, this is what I've been told. We'll see how it actually plays out. When you get to the pistol, it's a laser pistol. You have a 30-second window to try to hit the black dot in the middle 3 times. If you hit it 3 times in a row, green, 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 you're allowed to advance. If it goes green, green, red, try again. Green, red, green, try again. Green, 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 go. If you can't get green, green, green at 30 seconds, you go to the finish line anyway. And you lose a band, but you get a time. And then there's a time penalty assessed for not completing the laser. So there's just some kind of interesting nuances about this that we'll definitely factor in, and how they'll factor in, we're just not sure.
Yeah. I mean, I liken it to when they did Spartan games. Probably the most difficult thing in Spartan games was the spear toss, because you only got 1 shot at it. And a lot of people lost Spartan games because they couldn't get that spear toss. And I can see that kind of being the case for the pistol, especially, it's a laser pistol. So it's just like, it can be, there's so many factors that could play. I'm not going to get into details with that, but I don't know, I'm interested to see. I'm actually interested to see how you're going to shoot this tomorrow.
Rodri. Well, I would talk about that in a second. So Rodri has said that 24 to 25 minutes were the best times for the men, 26 to 27 minutes for the women. That's to do a 5K and 30 obstacles, and obviously survive with at least 1 band remaining and pay your penalty laps if you owed any. For the coverage, for the broadcast coverage tomorrow, we have been able to go to the obstacle course and assess it. And as I said earlier, there are some pretty challenging obstacles. One thing that they're doing is they are counting the scores from the DFC towards the Dubai World Obstacle Challenge, meaning if someone has the best time, they can actually win the money.
Yeah.
So we have to play within the rules. But we are expecting there to be a sort of a pile up of athletes that will be eliminated at the same spot, because there are 3 pretty challenging hanging obstacles leading up to that spot. And in order to not have 10 people all get a tie break, what we're going to do is similar to the run today. We're going to have a static cam at the start, and a static cam at a midway point on the course. That's going to be serve as a tie break in the case that there is a pile up like that later on in the course. We haven't decided exactly where that's going to be. We're going to do that tomorrow when we get on site, and then we'll obviously inform the athletes specifically of what that is. But that's our kind of and then I need to find a 3rd phone to do some roaming coverage. So if anyone is here and has a phone that I can use for the event to do some, it has to have cellular data available to do it.
Well, you also need to find a trash can to put those cameras on top of.
We make it work.
Exactly. No, that's good to know. Yeah, I'm excited to see that. That's pretty cool that they're integrating that into the actual race. Again, it's showing that unique partnership that Dubai Fitness is having. Like, there's always something going on in Dubai. So to kind of partner up with something that's going on that's worldwide that you have tons of people coming in for, that's great for Dubai fitness. It's great for the athletes, and it shows that they're being innovative. I mean, that's a pretty cool thing, and yeah, yeah, you win a little
I
extra
wanted
money
to.
too. That's cool.
I wanted to ask you guys about something. Tomorrow's events. There's 4 scoring opportunities tomorrow. There's the obstacle course that we just spoke about in pretty detail, and obviously there's a high level of precision and execution that could be required, and also just like being mentally in the zone and not making mental mistake. Then we have a lifting event, which those same factors often factor in. Executing well on the lift. Sometimes you can be really strong but not able to show it because you make some poor choices or have bad execution. We have a Metcon that's fairly straightforward with some double under sandbag cleans and toes to bar. And the final event tomorrow night is elimination. And for athletes, that's always a very nervous event. We have chest or pull-ups, sandbag squatting. Margins are going to be small. So 400 points available tomorrow, and 300 of them are pretty, like, there's obviously you need to be fit, but there's other variables in play. That's like a very high, like high risk type of day and it starts at 6 a.m. when we get on the bus, and the final men's heat finishes at 8:45 p.m. It's a big day.
Yeah, that's really unlike Dubai. Typically, you usually have the mornings off, and you go later in the afternoon with like 3 events going into the evening. So that's interesting.
Yeah, but don't you think whoever sits at top of the leaderboard tomorrow night is going to win the event?
Possibly, but there's we'll see if it's close, then not necessarily. The final day, there's 3 events, only 2 of them have been announced, and the first 2 events that have been announced on Sunday, which is the type of day that Patrick was describing, which will start about 2, are pretty tough events. It's the Imam, and then it's the Lazar tribute workout. I've had actually a few people test that event, and the athletes really like it, but it's pretty good, legit workout.
Oh, I do have a question. You didn't mention it. Is it a mass start for the 5K obstacle?
I don't know. No, I think it's heats of. I can't remember if it's heats of 5 or I think it's heats of 5.
Okay, all right. Just wondering.
But all of the obstacles have it like 6 or 8 lanes that you can go through.
Yeah. Okay, I was just wondering that because that actually does play a difference, and again, that might come down to like seeding again, like luck of the draw. Like if I'm Brittany Weiss or Aline or Holta, I would want to be in those same there. So that way you're there with your competition. And, you kind of game the system, not game it, but, if you see like someone fall off, you can kind of see where they made a mistake, and then you can go, it's a little cat and mouse game. That's
from a seeding of the athlete's perspective, the first reseed is going to be after the obstacle course tomorrow. So they're not reseeding after today. The reseed is coming after event 3. After event 6 and after event 8.
Yeah. All right.
Oh, big day. It's going to be fun.
Yeah. Oh, any other details regarding the lift? Is it going to be 1 lift, 2 lift, 3 lifts?
3 attempts on the lift.
Okay, 3 attempts. Okay, that's good. Is there a time limit, or is it just everyone just cycling through?
1 at a time. Cycling through for 3 rounds.
Okay, cool.
So hopefully we'll see every person lift.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to some.
And then he froze.
I was gonna.
If you listen to the what?
You froze.
You froze for a few seconds.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Nico, as if you listen to the event 1, you heard his expertise when it came to biking, but and also he's here on the show, but he's also providing us a lot of cool content, and so tomorrow should be really cool. I'm looking forward to seeing what type of magic you make tomorrow. Yeah,
I'll do my best. It's gonna be
it's
gonna be fun to do more of a classic type CrossFit, more moving around. it's not the most fun events to shoot. Those two, it was good events, but like from a working perspective, they're not the best.
Have you shot OCR before? Like any like OCR type events?
I have. I've shot that. I shot High Rocks, and we just did a High Rocks type event back in Denmark last weekend where I shot it, and then they asked me if I wanted to do the final heat, so I jumped in and did that. So yeah, it's a lot of moving pieces, a lot of moving around. We did a longer one back in Swiss Alpine Battle where Lord Horvath competed, Mundweiler, Sam Briggs, BK and Vellner won their division. So yeah, it's fun to shoot because you get some different images you're not used to, and obviously shot the CrossFit Games a few times with I think I have a shot of good old Patty V falling down a cargo net, but yeah. Whoops.
Brian, what time we start tomorrow morning with the first event? Local time for you would be what?
7:30. First wave should go off on the obstacle course. I think that will be done within an hour. So at 8:30, we'll make our way back over here, and then I think 1:30 we'll start the lifting. The first event will be live streamed. So as we talked about on Dubai Fitness channel, we'll do our best with the mobile setups that we have, and then starting tomorrow night for all day Saturday and Sunday will be more of the traditional broadcast that we're used to at Dubai Sport TV, which obviously streams on YouTube, also streams to the national television station here. And I'll be there with Lucy Campbell for the last 6 events.
Nice.
Sounds good.
I don't know. Anything else in closing? I mean, great.
No,
great job.
let's go with the.
What? Go get what?
Dinner time for us.
Milkshakes.
No, we already had one, and I'm hungry now.
Oh, see, Dubai. Oh, I love Dubai milkshakes. and Fantas. I'm really big in the orange soda. But
we did a bodybuilding session before this, just so Nico could flex on me.
Oh, okay. Did Joe join you guys?
He did.
Yeah, he did.
Joe came late, and Brian was on his phone half of the time. So
yeah,
it's just like
someone's got to make
training by myself.
Yeah, he's a busy man. He's got bills to pay. He's got kids to feed, mouths to feed. Yeah. I don't know. He doesn't have any of that. Well, yeah. Thanks for having me on. Like I said, I gotta catch a flight here in 4 hours. Is that right? Like 6 hours. Yeah, I catch a flight here in 6 hours and heading to Birmingham, UK, home of Peaky Blinders.
Okay, Patrick will be in FitFest the next 2 days, doing some live streaming from there. So look for those on the B.Friendly Fitness channel. I think Nico and I will probably do one more podcast before the end of the competition, but we'll probably do it on Sunday morning. So tomorrow's going to be a really, really big day, but we start late on Sunday. So if you're up late enough on Saturday night in the States, or early enough here, or west of here, east of here, I mean, you can catch us live. Otherwise, you can catch up on it before the action starts on Sunday. We'll see you from Dubai in the morning at the obstacle course, and Patrick will see you guys in FitFest. Thank you, Nico. Thank you, PC, for taking the time. Mm-hmm. And thanks for everyone for being here. Well, we'll see you guys on the streams, and
see ya.
Be friendly, our friends.
Our friends.